What's up, guys? We're in a different setting, but we're still gonna get the job done. Ignore the background, I'm trying something different today. So today we're gonna be talking about the pedestalization of women. Okay, now men have been pedestalizing women for many, many years, but in the last, let's say 100 years, it's been heavily reinforced due to the progression of feminism and everything like that. But now the agenda that's being pushed has made it so that men grow up believing in the feminine ideal. And when I say that, I mean that women are sugar, spice, everything nice. You should treat them like queens, all that stuff. There's one woman for you, and there's always gonna be one woman for you, and she'll love you for Lou, and she'll never leave, and all that stuff, right? All of this thinking just paints an ideal. And see, the problem with making women into an ideal is that women are human and humans aren't perfect. Ideals are. So when you think of a woman in an idealistic way, you're making her something she is not, which is perfect. She's not perfect. Far from it, actually. We're all very flawed creatures. So you never want to impose that type of frame upon a woman, because she will never live up to it. A lot of the times, men are bred from a young age to believe in this ideal, and in doing so, they always try to put the woman before themselves and put the woman above themselves. Now, usually we acclimate to this so easily because we are already naturally protectors. So if you want to protect something, you're willing to do whatever you can to make sure the protection is as effective as possible. And the other problem is that women don't want to be the ideal. They don't want to be put on a pedestal. They don't want to be followed. They want to follow you. They don't want to be above you. They want to be behind you. It's different. You stand in front of them. And that's the problem that a lot of men struggle with. They think, oh, we must put the woman above them in order for them to love us. But no, we just need to protect them and provide for them. That's really all we need to do, and stay strong in our masculinity. And the crazy thing is, to be honest with you, bro, who wouldn't love to treat women like everything, treat them like queens and princesses and all types of royalty? I would love to do that. I would love to just smother a woman with my love, I would love to do that. But the problem is that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it's not supposed to work. I used to think that way. A lot of men still think this way, but here's the thing. It's not attractive to a woman to put her before yourself. It's not attractive, because that means that you have no identity. You have no sense of self. You don't really stand for anything. You're willing to bend to whatever it is she wants. You have no backbone. You're basically a pussy. The point I'm trying to make is that, think about it this way. How many assholes do you know that get to box regularly? And you're treating them as they said they want to be treated, and they're not giving you the time of day. Why? Why is that? It's because they don't respond well to above average treatment. They just don't respond well to it. Listen. Assholes get all the play anyway, okay? So why am I gonna mess with the Krabby Patty formula? Why am I gonna do that? There ain't no bitches eating at the chum bucket, my G. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make sure that you don't fall into this mass category of people that just put women above everybody else. You just can't do it, because that is just a recipe for disaster. Now we come to the question of why. Why don't women respond well to this treatment of pedestalization? Why don't they respond well to it? Well, it's been bred out of them, to be honest. Women love opportunistically, and they have to. And the reason why is because thousands upon thousands of years ago, when we were at a more baser level, when civilizations were not as sophisticated as they are now, we were nomads. We lived in tribes, right? So what would often happen is the tribes would war with one another. And in those warring tribes, the woman that had a man already, sometimes their man would be killed, and sometimes that woman would have a child. Now, when the victors from the warring tribes took the woman, because that's what they did, that's how they increased the size of their tribe and became more and more successful. When the victors took the women that were still hung up on their man that was killed, they were killed, and so were their children. But the woman that moved on quickly to the new man, they survived, and so did their children. So what effectively happened was the woman that loved idealistically, the woman that wanted to stay with one man no matter what, they died off pretty quickly. The woman that moved on, they survived. And over thousands of years of evolution and breeding, most women no longer have that capacity to stay in love with one man forever if a better man doesn't come along. That's just how they were bred. It's in their nature. So when you understand that, can you really be mad at them? Can you really hate women, or can you really resent them for moving on so quickly, for monkey branching or being opportunistic? This was the literal birth of hypergamy. This is why hypergamy exists. Women have to move on quickly in order to survive and make sure that their offspring survives. If they don't, they die. And that's just a biological adaptation. It's nothing personal. It's nothing against men. It's just how women are wired. And when you understand that, you can't really hate them for it, because that's what they had to do to survive. Just as men, we had to learn to not be as emotional. We had to learn to be logical and to be in charge and to be leaders in order to survive as well. We had to learn how to create and to build to survive as well. It's in our nature. Women, they move on quick after a breakup. Why? They were meant to. They were bred to. They were designed to. Throughout this talk, you might think, okay, all this stuff is fine and all, but I still don't agree with it. I still don't think it's right that women can just move on and that they don't respect a man who's going to do everything for them and treat them like queens. I don't like it. A woman should just love you for you and stay with you and love you unconditionally and all that stuff, right? I'm going to be honest. Society and civilization is not built for women to love you idealistically. It's not built for it. Think about it. Let's say that women didn't care how much money you made. They didn't care what you did for a living. They didn't care about your title. They didn't care about your health, your fitness. They didn't care about your charisma. They just loved you for you and will always love you for you, and you didn't have to do any work to attain them. What would happen? Well, men would stop working, for one. Men would get more lazy, and they become more effeminate over time. The productivity of our civilization would come to a screeching halt. Less men would be willing to work, and you'd find that more women would have to pick up the slack, right? Women would still love you unconditionally. They wouldn't change. They would still love you, even though you weren't doing anything with your life and you weren't furthering the progression of our society or our species. And so eventually we would have more kids, right? Because we're with these women, but we'd run into food shortages and societal collapse. We'd be vulnerable to wars and catastrophes from the outside world. Any type of natural disaster, whether it be storm or plague or famine, we'd be susceptible to, because men weren't working. They're not working to improve society, to prevent these disasters anymore. And eventually, some type of disaster would be too great for us to overcome, and we'd die out because we weren't progressing. We weren't doing anything. We weren't motivated because we already got the pussy. We already got what we wanted. What do we need to work for? She already loves me for me unconditionally. I can do no wrong with her. So what do I need to try for? What do I need to improve for? It's done. So as you can see, hypergamy is necessary. If the woman didn't want the best man possible, then many men would not work to be the best men. And if there are no great men, are there any men? Really? So as much as you can hate it, as much as you can disparage it and just think like women shouldn't be like this, the reason why this is this way is because we function the best when we strive to be better to attract mates. It's not just us, it's the entire animal kingdom. All the animals that try to attract mates always work to be the best at whatever the women find attractive. That's just how it works. So don't pedestalize women. Instead, focus on yourself. Instead, work on yourself. Put yourself first. And watch. Watch what happens. Trust me. You'll be surprised.